Another week, boys, and another TWAB. This week in Destiny, we're getting ready for Act 2 of Revenant. Only a few more days until November the 19th. What better way to prepare for the new activities and the story content than by sharing some of the changes coming to roaming supers? But let's not spoil everything in the intro. Here are today's topics. Act 2 live stream recap. Check the new artifact perks. Act 2 sandbox preview. An update from our PvP strike team. Our last spooky pumpkin and fashion winners. And check out the Street Fighter collab. Let's do this. Okay, so for Act 2 of Revenant this starts November the 19th. We hope you all enjoyed our latest developer live stream on Tuesday. We focused on the content to come when Act 2 of episode Revenant arrives on November the 19th. We shared some details about new weapons, new artifact perks, and of course, our new activity, Tomb of Elders. Let's not forget about our latest collab and what the Dawning will bring this year. If you're busy or want to just simply rewatch it, we've got you covered. We actually did an entire TLDR breakdown of this. So Tomb of Elders is like the base version of this. Think of it as like Riven's Lair. And then you'll have Contest of Elders. And that's like the coil. That's where somewhere around like a 40 to 45 minute commitment. They said that there are ways to, of course, bring that time down if you optimize with your teammates, bringing it down to somewhere around 30 minutes or so. But it is going to be a time commitment, but it's going to have the same level of loot that the coil had. But if you want to check that out, we'll have that link down below. Now, check the new artifact perks. Act 2 of Revenant arrives next week, and that means that the artifact will expand and gain a new row of perks to shake up the meta a little bit. If you have melee-focused builds, you'll be very happy. If you're looking to power your arc builds, we recommend you put on Retinal Burn and try them with the new 5th column edition. We've also we've been hard at work to get Act 1's grenade launcher capstone mod kinetic impacts working once more with your favorite heavy grenade launchers. Thank God. All right, so these are the artifact mods. We touched on this actually yesterday, but they're all right. There's nothing like crazy here. It definitely seems like they're trying to push us to play more close quarter and you know, maybe just lean into some more melee based build. This last one right here, arc compounding. Arc sources deal increased damage to blind targets. That really just comes down to whatever that percentage is. And whatever that percentage buff is, we'll see how that shakes out. But the rest of these, it doesn't strike me as potent as the Act 2 Echo artifact mods that we got added to us. Those were really, really good. Now, Sandbox updates coming with Act 2. Many changes are coming very soon to Destiny 2, as soon as next Tuesday, when both Act 2 and our update 8.1.5 are available to players. We have some nerfs to outliers like Storm's Edge, some buffs for roaming supers as a whole, and then some weapons and armor pieces getting a bit of both. So let's jump right into it. So roaming around at the speed of sound. Howdy y'all, Abilities team here. We wanted to take a moment to discuss a major change we're bringing with Act 2. Way back in update 3.4.0, we outlined a change to how super energy was gained. We wanted to ensure that super energy was awarded for participating in combat through giving and receiving damage, as opposed to mainly passively or passive generation supplemented by orbs of power. Then we supported that by changing the cooldown tiers of the various supers based on several factors, including potential number of enemy defeats, which meant a lot of roaming supers took longer to charge than their one-off counterparts. Then with the launch of the final shade, we moved all supers to use the same standardized damage-based recharge parameters to further bring outliers like Ward of Dawn and Well of Radiance cooldowns in line with other supers, mostly inside of PvP. However, all these changes created an extremely lopsided pick rate for one-off supers versus their roaming counterparts. We believe the power fantasies and intrinsic gameplay of roamers are fun and integral to the core of Destiny, but we understand that the mechanics of second-to-second combat are better optimized with the one-off supers. Therefore, we're taking a step at addressing that. Starting with Act 2, we will be changing the damage-based recharge parameters for all roaming supers against PvE combatants only, and increasing the amount of super energy gained when damaging combatants by roughly 3 times the amount it is today. So this is literally going to be broken down by the super that you have equipped. That's crazy that Bungie can even do that. The intent here is that you are more likely to have a roaming super when you need it for that panic activation or to jump an enemy spawn point. In our internal playtest, we've been having a blast with extra activations per encounter or activity, and it is especially spicy with Fireteam Coordination. As a reference, if you were using between 3 and 5 Nova Bombs while playing in Advanced Nightfall, you can now charge around 6 or 8 Nova Warp activations in the same activity. I don't understand. What are they? If you were using between 3 to 5 Nova Bombs while playing in Advanced Nightfall? Okay. So in their current playtest, if you're using around 3 to 5 Nova Bombs while playing in Advanced Nightfall, you can now charge 6 to 8 Nova Warp activations in that same activity. And so that's the direct comparison between the one-off super being Nova Bomb versus the roaming being Nova Warp. It just, I get where Bungie's coming from. I don't know, man. It's like part of what makes Destiny fun is like amping up your neutral game to the most it could be. But I don't know, maybe we might be in a situation where it's like there's some appeal there to rocking a roaming super extensively in Grandmaster Nightfalls. All right, now we respect that super choice is an essential part of build crafting, and not every encounter or strike is perfect fit for every roaming super, but we do think that this change entices the fire team to bring a roaming super where they otherwise might not have. In addition to this, we're upping the damage roaming supers do against champions by 30 to 55% depending on the super. That was the thing I was wondering about, because man, nothing sucks worse than popping your roaming super and then going up to a champion and doing literally nothing to them. This roughly brings all roaming supers to a similar damage profile against champions and will give them a distinct advantage in your next Grandmaster Nightfall over a one-off super. Now, you can expect these changes for these supers. So for Hunter, Arc Staff, Golden Gun, excludes Celestial Nighthawk variant as it's classified as a one-off super, Spectral Blades, and Silk Strike. Okay. Titan, Fist of Havoc, Burning Maul. This excludes Pyrogale as it's classified as a one-off super. Hammer of Soul, Sentinel Shield, Glacial Quake, and Blade Fury. Let me just say this. How much y'all want to bet that the damage buff still somehow applies to either Pyrogale or Celestial Nighthawk? Like, there's probably a way to bypass this where you can actually bring that damage, that extra damage into that. Now, Warlock, Storm Trance, Daybreak, Nova Warp, and Winter's Wrath. This is a major change, so we'll be keeping an eye on this over the coming weeks and months while we keep evaluating how roaming supers are performing. See you in Act 2. This is a big change, fellas. I mean, to be honest with you, the Sandbox PvP had its situation with Well and Bubble where things got out of hand. But I would say for the longest time in PvE, you know, one-off supers was kind of what people would use. The only time people would use a roaming super is if they're like playing solo and it was like a get out of jail free card. Like, you know, maybe you need to just pop your super just to get out of that situation, right? And then back off and continue doing damage with your neutral game and your weapons. But look, we've got a lot of exotics that feed into super regeneration. Might be in a situation right now where literally a play could be, hey, you're going to pop your super 10 to 12 times in this Grandmaster Nightfall and just literally focusing on getting your super back as much as you can. Now, electrifying exotic armor updates. Hey, y'all, the armor team has been hard at work on content for both our next episode, Heresy, and the further out Destiny 2 codename Frontiers, but it didn't stop us from getting changes for update 8.1.5. We were overall happy with how the changes we made for Act 1 landed with players, but we think these further changes will help out a few exotics that are still struggling in the sandbox. We also made a change to reduce the potency of a certain Hunter helmet in Crucible. Interesting. Point Contact Cannon Brace. We felt that the lightning strikes provided by Point Contact Cannon Brace are the main focal point of using the exotic, but they lack build crafting depth beyond being visually flashy. So in Act 2, we are putting more emphasis on them contributing to your overall gameplay loop instead of relying completely on the Thunderclap defeats. Amplified Lightning Bolts now do 100% increased damage over base, up from 50%. Lightning Strikes defeats now also refunds melee energy, reduce Thunderclap refund by 10% to compensate for the increased energy gains on average. And this should apply to Spirit of Contact. Raid and Flux. It is our goal that the two Arc Staff exotics, Blind Ranger and Raid and Flux, have distinct identities. Blind Rangers is rooted in defense, and we want Raid and Flux to be all about offense. However, we felt it could benefit from a little more punch, especially in harder activities. So Synapse Junction super damage benefit increased to 20% per stack, up from 14% per stack. Max benefit is now 70% damage increase, up from 50%. All right, looks like we're gonna have to do some super damage testing again, man. Ballador's Wrath Weavers. At the start of this episode, Ballador's Wrath Weavers were updated along with their other super damage increasing exotics to give a little more potency to Shadebinder Super. Unfortunately, in this case, the change didn't land where we would like it to. So we are increasing the benefits of shattering targets. Increased shatter damage to 150%, up from 100%. Fixed an issue where enemies were inconsistently getting boosted shatter damage, which led to decreased overall damage. Increased shatter damage now shows as a yellow number to aid with visibility of the perk. That's all for now, but we have plenty of updates and tweaks to other exotics coming down the road in Heresy, with many aiming to provide more potency to our roaming supers. But in the meantime, we'll keep an eye on how these changes play out. It definitely seems like Bungie's wanting to roll out the super, like this change, the roaming super change first, and just kind of see if it picks up those other exotics at all. Now, fixing Telesto and hoping for the best. And now, a short update from our weapons team. Most of our weapon focus updates are aimed at PvP for this patch, and we'll discuss those in more detail below as part of the PvP Strike team update. But we did have a few minor changes directed at PvE that we think help to add a little more flavor back to some old favorites. So breach grenade launchers. We've heard the feedback loud and clear that the nerf to Mountaintop felt unnecessarily strong. So we've walked back some of the speed limit reduction we previously gave it to the blast damages impulse. So micro missile frame increased the velocity players can generate with the rocket jumping blasts. All right, there you go, speedrunners. Telesto, in update 8.1.5, we've corrected an issue with Telesto not dealing the appropriate amount of blast damage against players at Crucible. We thought while we were in there, we might as well give it a little something extra for PvE too. So it increased Telesto detonation damage by 20% in PvE. All right, I'm curious to see what's going on for PvP. All right, so from the PvP Strike Team update. Hello all, it's the PvP Strike Team here with a quick update on where things stand in Revenant. First, let's talk about the Crucible Sandbox. So Sandbox, when we look at the high skill primary weapon meta for the last month, we can see that Rose, Elsie's Rifle, Graviton Lance, and Bygones have distanced themselves from the rest of the pack. Bygones alone is egregiously out of ban. I got Bygones out there. Look at that. Thanks almost entirely to the high ground perk, which will be taking a first swing at addressing below. Oh no. We'll continue to keep an eye on the other top performers, but the current thought is that most of these weapons are very close to the upper end of what we want primary weapons to be able to do in their current roles. And we're more interested in bringing other options up to meet them, hammering these options down by more than small amounts. I mean, this is literally the meta right here, guys. If you go look at Trials report and you see like the top weapons, Graviton Lance, Elsie's Rifle, Bygones, Rose, you know, you got your other ones, but these being out of ban here, those are the ones that are always at the top of the charts. And we're in a very like heavy pulse rifle meta right now. Now, while the meta has moved away from closer range engagements, we believe the consolidation around these specific weapons is due in large part to a combination of two things. Number one, the difficulty of engaging in the medium to close range combat windows with the current level of ability uptime stemming largely from our prismatic subclass. Ain't that the truth, dude? Like literally every encounter. I mean, look, I go around a corner, there's a warlock, he's got a Hellion on him, he's sitting there sitting in his rift, there's a hunter that's throwing down swarm grenades, a smoke grenade. Look, it's crazy. Every engagement, it's an ability just about every single engagement. Number two, the lack of competition among our medium long range primary options outside of pulse rifles. In update 8.1.5, we'll be buffing some more options in that engagement range, as well as reducing the amount of ability usage able to be generated by prismatic subclasses. Let's get to it. So abilities, prismatic. It has become clear that the prismatic subclasses allow combinatorics are problematic for Crucible in a way that we cannot easily solve with spot tuning. While we want to keep the power fantasy for PvE in PvP, the dominance is concerning and needs a more labor-intensive fix than we can provide inside of a mid-season patch. As such, we've made the decision to give all prismatic subclasses a blanket 15% addition ability cooldown penalty inside of Crucible, which should help to offset the current king-making strength of these subclasses and provide some reasons to run the base abilities on standard subclasses. So again, this is being applied just to prismatic, guys. This penalty stacks on top of the current overall PvP ability cooldown penalty of 15%. Now, Storm's Edge. Even with the cooldown increase, Storm's Edge still feels like too much of a win button with little to no counterplay, even for a super. As such, we've reduced the damage resistance during the cast and reduced the height of the damage impulse so that it will be easier to fight back against while still retaining its upfront strength. So reduce height of the damage impulse from 5 meters to 3.75 meters. Okay, so meaning you could jump over the top of it. Reduce damage resistance against players from 53 to 45%, both on the cast and during the spin attack. And move from tier 3 to tier 1 super cooldown. Wow. All right, these are heavy nerfs, man. Is Storm's Edge really that crazy to y'all? I don't know how it is on console. On PC, it's like, I feel like I have shit on some Storm Edge users, man. Like, dude, if you could time it just right, and if everyone just team shots a Storm Edge user, you can mess them up. Armor, Knucklehead Radar. This exotic's ability to provide information to PvP players without requiring them to engage in combat and giving that information for as long as it does has contributed a bit too much to the strength of the longer range meta options. Since we've changed how to activate the perk, now requires the wearer to damage a player to mark the target. The target is marked for 3 seconds, down from 7 seconds. So it's still going to have the ability to maintain radar when aiming down sights, but you have to damage the player to mark them, and it only lasts for 3 seconds. I think that's fair, man. I think that's completely fair. You just gotta tag them up a little bit. Now, weapon archetypes, bows. We made the changes to the weapon sandbox to generally make primary weapons less forgiving. Bows were one of the first large outliers that we had to tune down. We hit them hard and have been gradually walking them back to a place where it feels like they could compete in the right hands without being oppressive at longer ranges. So precision bows increase body shot damage by 10%. This change does not affect La Monarch. Dude, that's literally every time Bungie does something to bows, they're like, listen, La Monarch, we're not touching it. Hand cannons. We've been hesitant to allow aggressive hand cannons to kill in 2 crits 1 body shot natively in PvP, while Igneous Hammer remained one of the most effective weapons. But the addition of new mods on weapons that can be enhanced has served to narrow the stat gap between it and other options like criminals and something new. In addition, we now have more options than just high impact pulse rifles that are usable in the 35 to 40 meter range of engagements. So it makes sense to bring the 120 hand cannon subfamily up to compete. This has been paired alongside a minor stat nerf to Igneous to prevent it from immediately becoming the top dog again, and will continue to evaluate its place in the meta after these changes. So aggressive hand cannons increase damage by 3%. This allows them to kill all resilience levels in 2 crits 1 body. Oh my god. Now Igneous Hammer, they reduce the stability handle and aim assist stat by 3. God damn it, fellas. Igneous is back to being super meta. Now, Better Devils is a classic weapon with a host of interesting perk combinations, but the lower base stats left it out in the cold even with the new mod additions. We decided to requisition Igneous Hammer stats over to Better Devils, taking from a weapon that has excess and giving them to one that really needs them. So increased stability, handling, and aim assist stat by 3. All right. Now, yesterday's question has been benefiting from the aim assist buff provided by Headseeker, but not the damage increase, so we've corrected that issue so that we can witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational hand cannon. Corrected issue where Headseeker was not appropriately increasing critical hit damage after dealing body shot damage. I don't really know how much this is going to move the needle. I will say this, though. In our review for yesterday's question, and we played on mouse and keyboard, played on controller, it actually feels really good in PvP. And I'm not a fan of this archetype inside of PvP. I've always looked at this archetype as more of a PvE weapon, but yesterday's question feels really good. Now, machine guns. Adaptive machine guns have been the heavy weapon meta for much of the last episode and a half. But while they have prospered, other subfamilies have floundered. We have made a change to the scaler that determines how much ammo you can pick up from a heavy ammo crate that reduces most adaptive machine guns ammo allotments by 2 to 3 shots, while increasing the amounts gained for the subfamilies with magazine sizes on the high and low ends like high impacts and rapid fires. Change the scaler that determines how much ammo you pick up from the crate. Mag size of 50 or less, you get 21 rounds. Oh, really? It's going to depend on the mag size? Mag size between 51 and 59. 21 to 26 rounds. 60 to 80, 26 to 27. 81 to 99. Again, this is pushing you to potentially use rapid fires. 28 to 44 and 100, you can get up to 45 rounds. I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, people are going to use, now it's going to be like, all right, get extended mag, put a backup mag on it, and try to get over those thresholds if you can. Or just say, the hell with it, I'm just going to rock a grenade launcher. All right. Now moving on to perks. High ground. All told, high ground offers too much of a damage buff to be triggered on such a low barrier. For now, we've reduced the stacks that are given for dealing damage with a primary weapon, specifically against players, down to 1 from 3. This should make the damage boost significantly less powerful in PvP, but will leave the efficacy alone in PvE. If the change is not enough, we'll address it again in a future release, either by requiring a greater height differential, which cannot be so easily triggered in PvP, or by greatly reducing the damage bonus against players as a whole. Dude, we're just killing the damn. This is death to all high ground weapons. Dealing damage to a player with a primary weapon now only grants a single stack of the damage buff. Dealing damage with a special weapon or against combatants continues to grant maximum stacks. You guys really don't like high ground? I mean, look, man, I don't think it's that low of a barrier. You have to find high ground. You got to be higher. Explosive payload. Explosive payload was nerfed when we originally made the Into the Light weapon sandbox changes as part of our efforts to reduce forgiveness of primary weapons. But the nerf was heavy-handed and overly punishing on a great many weapon types where the perk was not problematic. When we rolled those changes back into the base weapon stats, we did not have a good way to adjust the perk correspondingly. So we shipped it in Revenant in its fully unnerved state while we investigated better options. We've since been able to add more tuning levers and have reduced the efficacy of the perk only on legendary hand cannons, which allowed the perk to continue to work on other weapon types and exotics like Sunshot. So reduce splash damage from the perk when used on legendary hand cannons by 7% against players only. All right, we'll just have to see, man. I don't know. I mean, I've got Rose. It's got explosive payload. I like it a lot. Now, exotic Telesto. As you might expect, Telesto has a lot of custom tuning going on under the hood. And when we did all the all-up fusion rifle tuning for Revenant, it was unfortunately missed in the kerfuffle. What the fuck is kerfuffle? So we're correcting an issue where Telesto was doing less damage than intended in PvP. Ariana's Vow. Ariana's Vow is another one-off weapon type that had its intrinsic damage buff instantly removed with the update 8.1.0 damage changes. So we fixed critical damage bug in PvP. Dorn and Lumina. These weapons have felt a bit power crept in PvP by the addition of the new mod system. So we wanted to at least partially bridge the stat gap, so increase stability by 5. Now, Thorn's still really, really good, man. I mean, the thing is like there's so many weapons that have more range than it. But man, Thorn, like within its range, 1v1s, it handles itself so well. So well. Now, General Crucible lobby balance. Since update 8.1.0, we've been running a variant of Snake Draft lobby balancing in our 6v6 and quick play playlist called Paired Player. Alongside this, we have continued running the standard random lobby balancer in trials. In the previously discussed lobby rank average balancer and competitive, while we ironed out some additional issues with pair player that presented themselves in this mode, which provided us with the real-time comparisons. Now, the pair player systems in 6s has resulted in improved performance compared to both the previous iteration of the Snake Draft, as well as compared to the lobby rank average and the random systems when we look at match outcomes, average score difference between the teams, and match fairness, average skill difference between the teams, and average skill difference within the teams. In Control, for example, compared to Echoes, games that hit the mercy score threshold have increased by 10%, while closely contested matches, games where it is difficult to accurately predict a winner before the match starts, have also increased by 7.5%. As you can see from the above chart showing Control, we've been making steady improvements in decreasing our prediction accuracy, which is an indicator of matches becoming more even over time, reducing it from an average of 68.5% to 67%. Simultaneously, our percentage of total games with relatively even win predictions, neither team has more than a 70% chance of winning, is increasing up from 59 to 64%. In addition, the chance of one team having more than a 90% chance of winning has decreased from 5.5% to less than 2%. The trials, on the other hand, which we have used with random lobby balancing as our baseline, has only around 33% of its games where neither team has more than a 70% chance of winning, with nearly an equivalent chance, 31%, for one team to have a greater than 90% chance of winning. And consequently, our pre-match win predictions are correct more than 80% of the time. Now, while paired players still underperforms pure average skill lobby balancing in terms of making teams as close to evenly skilled as possible, we've seen significantly less instances of all the lowest skill players being stacked onto a team with the highest skill player, outside of fire team compositions that demand that allocation. For now, this will be the system we move forward with in our 6v6 and quick play playlist. And we're ready to experiment with turning it on again in competitive. We'll be quick to roll it back if it negatively impacts the experience. Dude, I just, like, don't get me wrong, this is great and all. When are we getting back to the special ammo meter? Is that just been forgotten? In Heresy, we'll be drilling deeper into what goes into our determinations of player skill on a micro level. I look forward to sharing that data with you. We're also looking to offer a way to view a proxy for player skill in game and start to peel back the opacity surrounding the system in a healthier manner. Listen, this is great, Bungie. Really, like, look, y'all, this is a data-driven thing, man. At this point, it feels like the Federal Reserve is talking to me. Listen, I just want one change and one change only. I just want the ability to pull out thy hand cannon or thy shotgun and to aim it at my teammate who keeps taking their super to orbit and blast their ass. That's it. And then proceed to rub my ball sack all over them. And when they go, what the f***? Why are you doing this to me? Then they'll finally look at the chat where I'm saying, use your goddamn super. That is the only change. I looked the Snake Draft, all this stuff, that's great. But that's the one change I want. Now, Mercy rules. When we rolled out the new Mercy rules in Revenant, we knew that it would increase the number of games ending in Mercies correspondingly. The Mercy trigger threshold was set at a very low value. Only 40% of the score needed to win, because of the window within which it would trigger was very small. Once we opened that window up, the number of games that could end in Mercies increased dramatically, but this has not actually reflected a reduction in match quality. In fact, in prior systems, we've been holding steady for years, with approximately 30% of Control games hitting the Mercy threshold at some point during a match, but only 8% of them ended in Mercies. With the initial system we shipped with Revenant, combined with the new lobby balancer, only 27% of Control games were hitting the Mercy threshold, but 23% of the games ended with Mercies, indicating our Mercy threshold was set too low for the current window. We wanted to get the number of games ending in Mercies back down closer to where it was before we open the rules. Hence our experimentation with the mercy score thresholds from last week's patch. This has brought down the number of games hitting the threshold to 18%, with the number ending in mercies reduced to 13%, and we'll continue to keep an eye on match outcomes as the episode progresses. The increased mercy window has had the improvements of decreasing both the number of quitters and the number of matches going to time. So we're striving to keep these improvements alongside these changes. Look, here's the thing about mercy, man. Yeah, it feels bad when you join into a game, you get mercied, and then you go into another game right afterward and you mercy the other team. Because then it's just like most of your time is being spent literally flying into the match, you know? So I'm okay with this. I know some of you are like, dude, I just want to get in there, get my games over with. Mercy me, or I mercy you over and over. And you know, that to me, just, I don't really care for that. That's not an enjoyable PvP experience for me. Even if I'm being beat, I just want good matches. And you know, whether we lose by 10 or lose by, you know, 100, you know, it doesn't, I'm fucking lying right now. It fucking matters, dude. It fucking matters. It's all shit. It's all ass. I'm just talking straight out of my ass right now. Until next time, Festival of the Lost. Candy season in the tower is soon to be over, so pay another visit to Abuelita Eva Levante and hunt down some of the final headless ones to complete your event card. Earn your rewards at some last hour weapon rolls. We recommend you complete any unfinished Festival of Lost businesses before November the 19th. As a send-off for this year's celebrations, we have some final picks for both your Festival of Lost fashion and Festival of Lost 2024 submissions. Thank you for sharing so many of them. It's always a pleasure to see much care and imagination put into your creations. Oh, look at that. What is this, an Elden Ring? Is this, or no, Dark Souls 3? Is this a Dark Souls 3 shout out right here? I like it. I like it. Oh my God, dude. Oh my God. Jesus. Oh, look. It's straight up marathon. It's the runner helmets. And it's on Vex Milk. Wow. Actually, that's pretty good. All right. Let's skip down here. I like pumpkins and all, but we're past that. Oh, Diris. Diris damage buff update. At the start of Revenant, we issued a patch note stating that Diris would receive a 33% increase to direct impact damage on top of spawning more moths on hits and getting increased ammo reserves. This note was left over from internal playtesting. While we originally planned to increase its damage, we found the weapon was overperforming across numerous activities. We continue to monitor the performance of the weapon in the live environment and are happy with its current place in our overall weapon sandbox. I knew it, dude. When I saw Bungie wasn't saying anything about Diris, I knew it. I fucking knew it. I knew they were going to say, yep, it's fine where it's at. We're not giving you the damage buff. Known issues. You got a lot of them here. The chest armor buff instead of the arm buff. Okay, oh yeah, player cannot blink during Onslaught Salvation. Players cannot blink during Onslaught Salvation? Really? That's such a random bug. The Battle Cyber Raid is missing the master option. Okay. Arcane Embrace Shotgun curated roll from Eva has Trench Burrow on it, which should not be an available perk for this weapon. Okay, so that's going to be addressed eventually. The Cosmic Grenade Launcher can't swap perks. Interesting. If the players advance to the point where the Icebreaker Catalyst is meant to be dropped before they own the weapon, the Triumph with the Catalyst will be auto-completed, and the player will not be able to acquire the Catalyst. Oh, some players are unable to craft tonics on specific characters. Health is not regenerating in Vanguard Ops. Guardian of Salvation, while Tether Triumph is unobtainable due to the encounter soft lock when following Triumph requirements. And then guitar errors are occurring at an elevated rate. All right. As a final note here from Bungie this week, just like that, the tweet is over, friends. There's just a few more days until Act 2 starts. You have everything in order, builds ready, weapons in hands, and fashion on point. It's better to prepare than to keep your friends waiting while you change ornaments and mods. Don't forget to visit the last city to check on Ido and Mithrax. You know what? We're paying them a visit right now. But before we all leave, would you check this crazy video of a group of old school Guardians working together to get every single exotic from Destiny 1? GG, folks. The Destiny 2 community team. Dude, is this one from CB? Is this CB right here? Oh my God, dude. This is incredible. Guys, y'all need to go check out CB on this. I know, I'm pretty sure he's got a couple of YouTube videos out or going out. But right here, they collected every single Destiny 1 exotic in one stream. This took 63 days. Oh my God. It happened to finish on my 30th birthday. Can't think of a better way to have wrapped up my 20s. Here's to my 30s. Crazy, brother. Crazy, man. All right, guys, that's your TWAB this week. How do we feel?
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.